Hi Flosstube, welcome to my channel. My name is Caitlin and this is Stitch, Read, Repeat. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. And if you're a repeat person, if you're coming back, welcome. I'm so glad that you came back. Thank you for being here. I made it just under the wire in January. It's been a busy month. I've had a lot of travel and just other life things going on, but excited to be here. I've got so much to share with you today. But before we start, I just want to recognize and acknowledge that this has been a really tough month. I joke that January has had a million days. I don't know where February is. They say it's tomorrow and I'm ready for it. I just want to tell you and say that this, my channel and my person, I really work to establish a safe space for everyone, regardless of what's going on in the chaos of the world. And just know that you're welcome here. I'm grateful for you. And if I can be of support in any way, please do reach out. Also, today was a sad day. I'm recording this on Friday, January 31st, and the needlework community just recently found out that Jean Lee of the Attic has passed. And I had the privilege to meet Jean in November of last year when I went to the Attic, and she was just such a wonderful, genuine person. So supportive and genuinely just seemed to love needlework. And so to Jean's family and friends, and to all of us who might have felt connected to her in some way, thinking of you all. And, you know, we will remember her fondly and move forward in her spirit. So, like I said, to Jean's family and friends, thinking of you. This episode has a lot going on. I've got framed pieces back from the framer. I've got 2 finishes. I've got a ton of whips, so many works in progress, a few purchases, some plans, some gifts, and then always at the end I talk about reading. So buckle up, get yourself a drink, hopefully you're stitching on something fun, and we'll jump right in. So I have met some friends in Delaware since living here who have had things framed at a local shop called Finley's in Wilmington, and I gave them a shot with some Christmas money that I had saved, and I got 3 pieces framed, and I'm so happy with how they turned out, and I'm excited to show those to you. So this first one is part of the Sunday Stitches series by Heartstring Samplery. It's called A Mighty Fortress. I stitched this in a 32 count limestone even weave with the called for flosses. I did sub out, let's see, I subbed one color, one of the pinks, which then turned into subbing another, one of the reds, so it all looked like it meshed. But here it is. So I am so happy with how this turned out. I think it looks great. I'm a pretty simple person. I don't like all the extras, so I kept my framing choices fairly straightforward. But there's something about getting a piece framed that it really feels like, wow, I did that. I did a thing. So here's the first one. Looks really nice. If you'll remember, and I'll see if it doesn't blow out, there's a little tiny gap right here in this flower, and that's because this was one of my first pieces stitched on a linen or an even weave over 2, and I miscounted. So I left it in there as a reminder that we all start somewhere. So this was part of the Sunday Stitches, A Mighty Fortress by Heartstring Samplery. Let's see. I've got my books here with all my notes, so I gotta make sure I tell you the right thing. So this next one is by Chessie and Me. It was Scarlett's Christmas sampler. I started this on my birthday last year and finished it in November when I was at the Attic. And this was stitched on a 36 count purled barley linen by Lakeside with the called for Gentle Arts flosses. And here it is. So I will hang this all year because it says keep Christmas all the year. I love Christmas. This is wintry, but it's not like screaming Christmas to me. I love this gold frame. I think it adds to it. Just a little small piece. And I charted my name and the date there at the bottom. So it's a little wonky, but that's about my trademark. So there we go. There's specialty stitches in this, as Linda likes to do in her charts. And this was a really fun stitch. And the last one, let's see, find the right page with all the information on it. This last one is my first chart that I ever stitched with silk. I used the called for Belle Soise, and I used a really crazy linen. It was the Weeks Dye Works linen, which has made me not want to use it anymore. But I made it work for this chart. I'm really proud of this piece. I actually stitched this almost exclusively during lunch breaks. So when I get my lunch hour, I would stitch, and I took this to work and worked on it for a long time and finished it at StitchCon last year. This is Entwined Hearts by the Scarlet House. So get it all in there. I've got my ring light on, so I've got to kind of watch the reflection, but oh, I'm just so happy with this. It looks awesome. I'm just really happy. Can't wait to hang this now that I've shown you. And this is definitely a piece that I will display with pride. It's funny because the red isn't something I have a lot of in my home, but I'm just so happy with how this looks. The colors on the floss, the variegation was so good. And it's amazing to me, this chart was charted with just four colors, and it's just beautiful. I've loved this since I saw it, and finally stitched it. This is a 32 count Aztec Red by Weeks, and like I said, first time with silks using Belle Soise. So there are my 3 framed pieces. I'm so excited about them. Yeah, it's a good feeling, and I haven't I don't know if I've ever had needlework framed before. I am notorious for having lots of whips and then put them in a box and forget about them. So excited to finally start, you know, putting my own work out on display and being able to share that with those who come to my home. Moving on, I have 2 finishes to share with you. And let's see here. So I think I had shared in my last video that I had been working or had started on or was going to start a shop model for a shop in Delaware in Dover called Floss and Flame. I've gotten to know the owner, Jen, fairly well. I consider her a friend, and I kind of inserted myself into her life and said, hey, I'd love to stitch a model for you if you need one. And so she was gracious and allowed me to do that. So I'm going to insert a picture here. This is Pine Tree Chalet by Blueberry Ridge Designs. I stitched this on a 36 count light hazelnut linen by XJew Designs using all the called for Weeks Dye Works flosses, and I stitched it 1/2. And so I just delivered this to Jen last night, and she was really excited to receive it, and I think she's going to get it framed, and then it will be there in her shop. I wanted to tell you, if you plan to stitch it on 36 count 1/2, these are all the flosses that I have left. So, I mean, there's a few skeins that have just a few pieces left, but I mean, plenty of floss. One skein of each color is plenty if you're going to do it with one thread. And so I was really happy to do that. Jen, thank you for letting me do that for you. I had a great time, and that was my first Blueberry Ridge design chart I'd ever stitched. I really very easily charted, easy to see, easy to read, and her use of color is really quite striking, as you can see there in the picture. So in the spirit of that, Floss and Flame, Jen, the shop in Dover, she has donated a chart of Pine Tree Chalet, and she has given this to me to give to you. So if you are interested in a giveaway today, I'd be happy to mail this to you. I ask that you be in the United States for this one, and this is going to be, you'll need to enter the giveaway by February 23rd. So all the rules, you know, that you're on Flosstube, please be 18, yada yada yada. Subscribe to my channel. I'd love it if you followed me on Instagram if you've got it, but use the word model, M-O-D-E-L, model, in your comment, and you might be entered, or you'll be entered to win this chart. This is Pine Tree Chalet by Blueberry Ridge, and this is thanks to Jen over at Floss and Flame. So thank you, Jen. Again, the word is model, and enter that by February 23rd, and I'll do a drawing for my next video. And my other finish for you, I think I had mentioned in my last video, I was going to be stitching a blessing sampler for 2025. a concept I'd heard about on social media where you start a sampler on January 1st and end it by the end of the month, and then you know, blessings to your needle or whatever you want it to mean. But it was fun to work on something small and get that done and accomplished in a month. I felt very accomplished. So when I was at the attic in November, I had picked up this chart, Pretty Pear. This is by Samplers Remembered. It's 2 small samplers, originally charted in Gloriana's, and I chose to use the DMC conversion that they listed, and I stitched that bottom sampler, and so let me show you what that looks like. So I stitched this on 36 count linen by XJU Designs in the color My Little Dove. And like I said, these are all the DMCs that they converted it to. Bear with me, I didn't iron this before I showed you. I just finished it yesterday, but here it is. So here's my finished sampler. My initials are there near the bottom of the tree. They're kind of ghosting. I liked how that looked, and that was the color called for with the conversion. There's a few little wonky mistakes in here because I can't count to save my life, but I'm happy with it. I think it's quirky and fun. I just liked all the green in it and the pops of red, the birds. It's just a sweet little sampler. So happy to have this done and completed in January. I feel a good sense of accomplishment there. And I think that it looks really nice on the gray. That color's coming across about right. XJU linen is very easy to work with, very easy to see. I like the colors that they use, and I had actually picked this up when I was at Jen's shop one time, so happy to use it on this chart, and I still got quite a bit left to use for something else. So here's my blessing sampler, and cheers to 2025. Okay, so now we're moving on to whips. I should tell you that there is probably going to be a lot of zippers and crinkling in this video, so if you haven't noticed already, just bear with me. If I don't keep everything all together, then I get in trouble and start to wonder what goes where and what goes into which project bag. I don't know if you ever have that problem. So my first one is a chart that I started on Christmas Day, and I have talked a lot about how much I love Teresa Kogut and her Santas, and so when she came out with this book, Hello Santa, I was so excited because of this green coat guy. He is just so darling. And so I bought this on Stephanie Webb's shop website, Lindy Stitches. She had them and she shipped them out as soon as she got them, so that's where I purchased this book and started stitching him on Christmas Day. So I am using all the DMC as Teresa has called for in the chart, and I am stitching this on a fabric from Millennial Fabrics, and this was one of their fabric of the months from last year in the color Barley, and here is Santa. So I just think he looks so good. He's so cute. I've been working on him during lunch, well, I was for a while, with his candy canes, and I started to outline. You can see here his sack is going to take shape right here. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the whole black that kind of makes him a rectangle, or if I'll just leave him as a Santa Claus. I found an oval frame in a thrift shop that I think might work for him. So once I get him stitched, I'll pull the frame out and see, you know, is that going to be right, or do I need to go another direction? But really happy with him. Her Santas are darling, and yeah, I think he looks great. So this was really fun to work on, and I'm excited to, you know, keep him in rotation here and maybe have him finished by Christmas. We'll see what happens. So that was my Christmas start. I don't know about you, but my Christmas, I have a 3-year-old, and so I didn't have a lot of stitching time, but it was fun to, you know, remember that I was able to start something on Christmas and, you know, continue working on it as the month went on. My next start was from Dirty Annie's, and this was a chart that I found. I couldn't tell you where I first saw it, actually. It's quirky and weird, and I just love it. I think I shared last time I have my grandparents come from Louisiana, and so I can relate a little bit to the Cajun heritage. But this chart is called Lache Pas la Patate, and basically it means don't drop the potato or don't give up. And so I started stitching this on New Year's Day because I just had a feeling that this year was going to be a year where I needed this reminder. And it is a doozy of a chart. As you can see, it's, well, it's just a lot of kind of confetti stitching to get all that kind of watercolor look. And so I'm really enjoying it, but I actually had to make a working copy of this chart and dig out my highlighter, and I'm having to, as I stitch, mark what I'm stitching so I know where I'm at and make sure that I'm not missing something along the way. So it's kind of fiddly, but it's been really fun. And so here is my progress so far. Admittedly, it's not very much, but I'm getting there. And so here is the start of those trees. So I started on that top left side. So I'll see if I'm coordinated enough. So you can see here the trees on the left there above her head. That's kind of where I started stitching. So we're getting there slowly but surely. I really wanted to just jump in and do her. I think she would be fun to stitch with the pink, but I'm trying to, you know, eat your vegetables or whatever they say, and make sure that I do some of that watercolor type work before I jump into her. And yeah, it's been fun. I'm doing this on a color and cotton linen in the color Dove, and it's a 36 count. I'm doing 1/2, and this is being stitched. It's actually with the called for NPI silks. So a little something extra and special for a New Year's start. Okay, let's get all this back in the bag. And I do keep that on my Q-snap because it's incentive for me to keep working on it. I think if I were to take it out each time, then it would be easy for me to say, it's too much work, and maybe go to something else. So trying to know myself well enough to stay motivated. Okay, the next one I have worked on. Let's see, is this the right bag? Nope, that's not the right bag. It's this bag. So I did some traveling this month. I was able to take my daughter and go back home to the Midwest and see both of my parents and celebrate with my stepbrother as we prepare for his wedding in April. And I wanted something that I could maybe stitch on the airplane that wasn't so hard to see, was kind of, I could do some single color stitching, and just, I wasn't sure what my time was going to look like while I was there, if I would have the bandwidth to stitch or if I'd just be exhausted. And turns out I was fairly tired because it was go, go, go. But I was able to stitch a few days. And so I got some progress done on this, and I'm happy with it. This is called Far Better Things. Well, you can kind of see it. It's by Sweet Wings Studio. And so here it is. This is the chart. And this finishing board comes from Chantel 141. So I'm actually stitching this on 32 count linen in the color Pearl by Mystic Fabric, and using all of the called for fancy floss. She uses a variety of fancy flosses, and so this is where I'm at so far. So I've got a hanging thread on there, sorry about that. But I finished up some of the words. I carried this brown across the top, and I started adding some of the black to this and built out some of the bricks here. So just a little kind of piecemeal as I went, added in some of the green here on the vine. And yeah, it's looking great. I'm excited. I like the blue pop there in the middle, and I do like this quote by C.S. Lewis. And I think that this will be a good chart to continue working on and finish up. I'm excited to finish it with that board, just like Chantel shows, or like Susan showed using Chantel's finishing. So this is Far Better Things by Sweet Wings Studio. And my daughter was very excited about my Minnie Mouse needle minder on that one. She was cute. We got on the airplane and I had a tablet for her to watch, and she goes, "Mommy, are you going to cross stitch while I watch my tablet?" And I said, yes I am. So She's 3 and she already knows. She says that's what mom's gonna do. So if you remembered last episode, I talked about my plans for 2025, and that included trying Whip Go for this year. And because I'm crazy, and because I have so many things already kitted, shamefully, that I hadn't even started, I decided that I would do my Whip Go of 25 new starts. So things I already had kitted, just waiting to be started. And so that's what I did. I put them all on a board, and when she called the numbers for this month, I was really excited to get going on my projects. So this was number, doesn't matter, I think this was number 20. She called 11 and 20 for last month. So this was number 20. Number 20 was Stroll Around the Garden by Threadwork Primitives. And I am stitching this on a 36 count linen in the color Winter White by Seraphim, using all of the called for. She's got some fancy floss, and then there were a couple that I had to sub the DMC for just because I didn't have them. And I'm actually using 2 strands of floss over 1 or 2 linen threads on this, and I'm happy with how it looks. I kind of like the full look. Again, I've got a dangler on here, but this is my, well, maybe this is my start on this guy. So I'm happy with how that looks. I like the full look there. We'll see how it goes as we continue, but I love an alphabet, as you probably know. And so this has been a fun start, and one that I look forward to continuing. So I started that. And then my other, well, before that, I've been keeping track of when I'm stitching and when. And so actually before I started the other Whip Go call, I started another project. Who said I was only going to do 25 this year? Not me, because that apparently would make no sense. I don't have a printed copy of the cover of this one, so I'm going to put a picture right here for you. This chart is called Sushi Cuties. It's by Trellis and Time. That's a shop I found on Etsy. And I'm doing this as part of a swap organized by Heather. She's link is my homeboy on Instagram. She has also a swap page, and she's doing a foodie swap. So it's all foods that you, all food themed stuff. And so part of the questions were kind of, you know, what do you like to eat, and favorites and things you don't like. And so it was fun to shop for my recipient and figure out something that they might enjoy having stitched. And so this is Sushi Cuties, and this is being stitched on a 28 count linen in the color Storm by Picture This Plus with the called for DMC. And I just started the soy sauce bottle. So just started it last night, but it was fun to get that in and get that going. And I hope that my recipient enjoys it when they receive it in March. So I'm using, like I said, all the DMC on that one. It's very small. It's an 80 by 22. So it'll fit like in a photo booth size frame, which I think is how I'm going to finish it. And yeah, I'm excited. I love a good swap, and I thought this theme was really fun. And my last work in progress. Can you believe it? So this, oh, of course, I've got danglers on all of these guys. This was the other Whip Go number that was called, and I think this was number 11 or 20, whatever one I didn't say is one that it is. And like I said, my January was kind of busy, and so I got all the way to this week, and I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't done my other Whip Go start yet. And again, my rule was just to start it, so I'm not feeling guilty or anything like that, but I did want to finish my sampler, the Blessing sampler, which I did. And so I started this yesterday, and this is Cornwall Cottage Sampler by Rosewood Manor. And I think I said when I was talking about it that I had seen the model of this on the wall at Strawberry Sampler in Pennsylvania, and they had stitched it over one, and I was just so in love with it. And so that's what I'm doing. So I am starting way up here in the corner, and you will see I finished this flower, started part of the stem, and started part of this red flower as well. I'm using the called for floss, except I am subbing out one because I didn't have the color that was called, and I think this will match just fine. and I'm stitching this on 28 count. Well, if I don't throw my needle everywhere. Goodness, Caitlin. This is a 28 count linen in the color Winter Moon. I'm not sure who the dyer is. It just said Winter Moon, but I'm stitching it over one, and here we go. So that red is actually just one color. That's Weeks Cayenne. And if it doesn't blow out, you can see there's a nice variegation in that. And so I'm really happy with how it's looking. Like I said, 28 count over one. This is Cornwall Cottage Sampler by Rosewood Manor. So I'm excited. I think this will be really fun to work on. This fabric's very easy to see when I stretch it tight on the Q-snap. And yeah, I think I'll keep this one out for a little while. And I was stitching on it last night. My over at Floss and Flame, she had a stitching night, and there were some people that came that weren't stitchers. But well, back up. She had a craft night, and so there were some stitchers there, and there was someone doing crochet. There was someone who was just drawing, and they were really interested to see, you know, how much time it took and how far did you get in the time that we were here. And so it was fun to share stitching with them, and you know, who knows, maybe pique their interest. I think when you have a shop that's local that you could stop in, and you know, Jen carries some small things that might, and somebody who's new to stitching might like, who knows what might happen. So those are all of my works in progress. If you were counting, that was 6 plus 2 finishes this month. So bravo to me. I'm giving myself a full round of applause here. All right, so those were all of my things that I've worked on. Okay. So next I wanted to talk about a few purchases that I made from between my last video and now. So if you remember, I was a part of the Millennial Fabrics Fabric of the Month Club, and I did have to cancel that subscription moving into 2025 just as I manage my finances and make sure that I'm, you know, making the best use of my money. And I've got such a fabric stash now that that was one thing that I could let go for this year. So I did that, but I did receive my fabric for December, and this is the color Sugar Crystal. So this is a really fun pink, and now I need to figure out what I'm going to do on it. I think one of these days when I go to Jen's shop, I'm going to take all my really crazy colored fabric and pick her brain about what would look good on this, what would not. I can't always see it in my mind. And some people have that knack better than others. I was talking to someone about cross stitch, and I said, I love cross stitch because you can copy a chart and you know what you're going to get. But when I start to change too many things, I get anxious. So we'll see what Jen might have to say, but I do like this color pink, and I think it's really fun. Millennial fabrics are great, and I highly recommend them if you're able to get your hands on a piece. And I even think their fabric club still has openings, so check them out if you're interested. So at Christmas time, I got an email. I'm on, you know, like we do, I got on a number of mailing lists for different cross-stitch stores, LNSs, and Shepherd's Needle had sent out an email saying that they were having a sale on in-stock items. And so I thought, well, let me look around, because that's what I need, more stuff. And I found some things, and so I wanted to show you a few of those. And so 2 charts in particular. The one that I was very happy to purchase is Let It Snow by Brenda Gervais with My Needle and Thread. I've liked this, and I haven't been able to find him, so I think this is sweet, and I can't wait to stitch him up. And the other chart that I found while I was digging around, this is by With My Needle. It's called Quaker Sampling 7, and I just think this is so pretty. They stitched it on a 36 count sand with silks, but of course, I mean, you could pick any color you wanted to do. Maybe I could do this on one of those bright colors. That would be wild. That's an idea. But this chart is 84 by 84, so it's really not very large, but a nice little stitch, and I just thought I just liked it. It's got an alphabet, and I'm all in for that. So this was from Shepherd's Needle. And then when I was at the shop last night. I don't know if you've been following as we get closer to Needlework Market, or yeah, Market? Is it Market? Yeah, it's Market, down in Nashville in March. That's when a lot of the designers come to a hotel and they have a big wholesale shopping experience for store owners. And so everybody has new stuff, which is exciting. And so the sneak peeks have started. And one of the sneak peeks that I saw that I was very intrigued by is by Rebel Stitcher, and it's called Disagree. And it's a sampler that's got a quote on it about disagreements, but I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it justice, but I might try to snag a picture of the sneak peek and put it here so you can see it. It's got Quaker motifs around the edge with the quote in the middle, and I just, from what I can see, it feels very timely and something that I really feel strongly about. And so I was able to purchase some of the fabric that it was stitched on, and so I purchased this in a 36 count, but this is Crypt Cloth by Lap and Loops, which is a beautiful color. If you've never used Lap and Loops fabric, I encourage you to. You can see it here next to a white. It's got some nice modeling. It's showing a little darker than it actually is, but Colleen, Rebel Stitcher, was actually at the shop yesterday, so she could give me the count, and if I stitch it on 36 count, it's a fat quarter is plenty. So I got a fat quarter of the fabric, and then I purchased floss. Colleen's is done kind of in a dark blue. I chose a green, and so I'm using the seaweed color from Weeks on this Crypt Cloth. So rumor has it that Ellen Reed and some others are doing a stitch along, and so I'll watch for more information on that on Instagram. But this is a must buy for me for Market, and Colleen, she hit it out of the park. So bravo, Colleen. Thank you to Jen for enabling me with the fabric right there, and I'm excited to get that going. And okay, so then lastly, I wanted to talk about some gifts that I received. So, you know, Santa Claus brought me a chart from Jeanette Douglas Designs, and so I'm part of the Delaware Valley Historic Sampler Guild, and every year we have a featured designer, and the idea is that you stitch from that designer over the course of the year, and then we kind of do a show and tell at the end of the year, showing the different things we stitched. And so last year it was With Thy Needle and Thread, and I just didn't get around to stitching anything by Brenda. But this year it was Jeanette Douglas, and I had just taken her class at the Jingle Ball, and so I was invigorated and excited. And I've admired this chart for a long time. My channel name is Stitch, Read, Repeat, and so this chart is called Take Time to Read. It's an older one. I just love it. It's stitching and reading and all the things. So I purchased, well, Santa purchased me this chart for Christmas with the fabric and all the fancy flosses. And I plan to work on this year and try to get this done so I can have a show, be part of the show and tell for our guild. So that was from Santa. Thank you, Santa. And then I also received a sweet package in the mail from my friend Courtney, and she had kind of thinned out her stash and had found some things that she thought I might enjoy or that made her think of me. And so she passed those along, and I'm so grateful. And so I wanted to show you some of those that she gave here. So the first one is by Puntini Puntini. It's called Santa, Stop Here. And I think that this is so sweet. It's a lot of stitching, but it's really not very big. It's 57 by 82, so a sweet little chart. And this one's called We Should Be Friends by Tiny Modernist. And I love it, and I'm grateful for Courtney and her friendship. And you'll see a theme here because she sent me a few more friend charts. The next one is called Flowers and Friendships by the Scarlet House. And this one's fully kitted, so I was really tickled for that. Thank you, Courtney. And that says, flowers and friendships, you reap, you wait, you sow, till they blossom and they grow. And that's so true. I met Courtney at StitchCon in 2023, and we've kept up, and grateful for her. And then the last one that she sent is by Pansy Patch Quilts and Stitchery, and it's called Friendship Blooms. also fully kitted. So wow, I'm a lucky girl. It says friendship blooms between saltbox neighbors. So, and funny actually, the chart that I stitched for Floss and Flame by Blueberry Ridge, the designer of Blueberry Ridge is the daughter of Pansy Patch, and so Emily is the daughter of Lori. So that's kind of a fun connection. So Courtney, thank you for those. Excited to see you in a few months and spend more time together. Okay, so I think that takes me to plans. If you're still with me, great job. Lots to show this video. So Jessie Marie drew the numbers for WIPGO for February, and those were back-to-back numbers of 7 and 8. And so I wanted to show you those projects and let you know kind of, well, just show you the projects, I guess. And I don't know when I'm going to start them, but eventually. You know how it goes with me. And it's especially fitting today, given the news of Jean's passing, that this was called, and I think it's, you know, it's serendipitous. So I am stitching this. This is a chart that I saw at my friend Stacy's house. I've admired it for a long time, but when I saw it in person, I realized, yeah, I need to stitch that. So this was a belated birthday gift to myself when I went to the attic. I had them kitted up with their silk conversion, and this is Dorothy Walpole by the Scarlet Letter. So this is Dorothy. She's a big girl. I've got a lot to figure out with this chart, but you just do it 1x at a time. So that's what I plan to do. So the attic kitted that up for me with a 36 count Albarium by Cedar River, which I've never used any of Jody's fabric, so I'm excited to do that. It's a very nice kind of, it's not pure white. It's a little creamy. You can see it here next to the white on the board. But it's a nice neutral. It's got a really soft modeling on it. And then they kitted that up with all the silks. They're still in a bag, but all the different kinds of silks. And they use, you know, lots of different Belle-Soirs, dinky dyes, and gum nuts. So excited to start this one. And I've got this one. I love this bag. I've loved this bag forever since I saw it. This is made by Lynn of Lynn X Stitch Creates. It's got all these girls on the back. And then on the middle, it's got all these words about girl power. And yeah, you grow, girl, uplift, girls with dreams, become women with vision. Yay, women. So I've got that in there. So that was number 7 for me. And then number 8 was something that I purchased from Country Sampler. It was an exclusive for them, still is as far as I know. And this is Comfort and Joy by Plum Street Samplers. So you purchased it as a kit, and so it's all wrapped up real nicely, but it's a 40 count baked clay by Fox and Rabbit with all of the called for flosses. So excited to get another Christmas start going, and yeah, it'll be great. So looking forward to February with those 2 starts. Also, our Sampler Guild is doing, rather than do a large group stitch along this year, which they did last year, they're doing a modified version of WIPGO where you pick a number of charts, and then each meeting they'll call a number and you'll work on that and show your progress in our Facebook group. And so I plan to pick out some of my small charts that are almost done and try to get some progress done on those. So when we have our meeting in not this weekend, but next weekend, I will know what I'll be working on there as well. And I'd also like to continue on the Cornwall Cottage sampler. I just really enjoyed working on that last night, so we'll ride that train as long as I allow myself and get some more progress done. It's a big chart. It'll take me some time. I think it's 250 or something by 250. No, it's right here. It's 294 by 294. So a large chart, but you know, every little bit gets you there. Next weekend, I'm excited to go and have a stitching weekend with some friends down in Ocean City, Maryland. And there's a shop in Ocean City, or in Berlin, called Salty Yarns, and she has a Super Bowl sale every year, and I hear that it's pretty good, so excited about that. I've just got a few things to pick up, but I could wander in a cross-stitch store for a long time. So it's no, it doesn't hurt me to go. And excited to just have a little getaway. And then also later in February, I'll be meeting up with my friends in Pennsylvania where we stitch together at a Panera. So looking forward to seeing you girls too, and catching up with everyone. So those are all of my stitchy plans. Of course, looking ahead, I've got Market coming up in March. I'll be going back and helping Stephanie with Lindy Stitches. I'm really excited to see her and spend some time at Market. And it's just fun to be around stitching people. It really rejuvenates me. So looking forward to that. And then I just booked a trip to go see my girlfriends in, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, all around that area. My friend Courtney that I mentioned, we're going to get together, and looking forward to that. So I'm really blessed to be able to spend time with my friends, and grateful for friends that will host me, including, I didn't say it, but Ryan, also my girlfriend in Nashville, she is hosting me while I'm there for Market, and it'll be good to spend some time with her. So I encourage you to, seek out stitchy friends. They're their own kind of special, and though I don't get to see them in person very often, it's always special when I do. So, and to those of you that I've met online, and I'm sure you all have online friends, those are special too, and it's sweet to maintain these friendships. So that's all I've got for cross stitch. If that's what you're here for, thank you for joining me. Remember that I've got a giveaway this episode, and you can enter that until February 23rd. I do plan to record a video that last week of February. So if you can get your entry in before the 23rd, that'll make sure that you'll be eligible. And I will see you then. If you'd like to stick around for book talk, that's what's next. So, all right, as far as reading goes, here's a quick rundown of my month and a half, however long it's been. I've read a number of different things and wanted to share those with you. So I know I said last video I wanted to read more physical books, and that was a joke because that didn't happen. My holds came up on Libby and I was reading those, so that's just how it works. Still trying to get through my physical books, but I think a lot of it has to do with the time that I read, and often I'm reading at night before I go to bed, and I read just on my phone, and it's easier than turning on the lamp. I know that sounds really crazy, but I can hold my phone rather, I don't know, excuses. We'll get there when we get there, but for now, this is what I read. The first one is by Tashi Buyan, and it's called Counting Down With You. This was a YA novel, a really sweet one. It was talking about a girl who was Bangladeshi, and her family had a lot of expectations for her, both around her academic career and also her personal life. And she's in high school, and she's wanting to make her own decisions, and of course she meets someone, and he might not be exactly who her family likes, and it was just a sweet book. I really enjoyed it. I liked the cultural interchanges that showed up, and a YA novel is a refreshing, kind of change of pace every now and then. So I would encourage that one. Very clean, but just, it was sweet to see her kind of wrestle with coming into adulthood. And I think, I can think back to myself at that time and what that felt like. And I really thought that the author did well in capturing that time of life. The next one was by Monica Wood. It was called How to Read a Book. I had heard about this on a podcast and was so happy that I read it. It was a 5-star read for me. It tells the story of a kind of an interwoven group of characters. It takes place in Maine. A young girl she was driving drunk, and she was in a crash where a woman died. And so this young girl ended up going to prison for some time. And when she gets out of prison, she has to figure out her life. And in the midst of that, she runs back into a woman who was running the book club at prison. And so she starts to form a relationship with her now on the other side. And so it talked a lot about, life as an incarcerated person and coming out of that. And it talked about death and what does death mean for the people that are left behind. And talked about community perception of an incarcerated person. It was just, Monica Wood did I'd never read anything by her, but I was really impressed with how she handled sensitive subjects like this, and how she she made it human, you know, and I think sometimes it's easy for us to other a person and say, well, that's just because, you know, or those people. But then we often, when we meet someone that's those people, we start to realize that there's a human behind that title, right? And so whatever that title is, those people, those women, those refugees, those people of a different race, you know, those people of a different religion, those people that are incarcerated, right? We put something on them that oftentimes doesn't ring true. And so she really gave you an inside look of a person maybe on the fringes of society. And I'm on a soapbox, but I really enjoyed the book and I encourage you to check it out. Another one that I read that I really enjoyed, because I love books, I worked in a library for a short time. It was called How Can I Help You by Laura Sims. And it tells the story of a woman who works at a library, and she's a character. She has a backstory that no one knows, and you know it as the reader. And she makes some mistakes, and maybe one of her coworkers starts to understand who she actually is. And so it was very, a little suspenseful, a little, it wasn't a thriller, but it definitely wasn't a happy read. Took place in a really like old stately library, and I loved the atmosphere that provided to the book. I encourage you to check it out. It was 4-star read for me. There were some aspects that I didn't love in terms of how she wrapped things up. It kind of felt too easy, but the premise of the book was good, and if you enjoy libraries and book adjacent things, I think you'd like it. So then coming up, what am I reading? So I'm part of a book club, and our book club is meeting at the end of February. I missed our January session, but in February we are reading, it's always a month to read a classic. And so I was a little, when I saw the classic that she chose, it was like a throwback for me. I think I've said on here before, I grew up in Nebraska. And one of Nebraska's most famous authors is Willa Cather, and one of her most well-known books is My Antonia. And so that's our book, My Antonia. I had to read this book in high school, and I did not like it. I powered through. My English teacher loved it, and so we spent a lot of time on it. And so starting to read it now as an adult, you know, all these years later, removed from Nebraska now, I'm seeing it through different eyes, and I'm enjoying the experience, but it's definitely something I'm glad I have it in a physical copy. It's taking some time. Cather is someone who you might read 3 or 4 pages where she's just talking about the prairie and what the prairie looks like. Her descriptions are intense. That's how she writes, and it's beautiful. She's a great author, and I think she's an important part of the world's literature. But for a 16-year-old, it's a lot, and I would say for someone in her 30s, it's still a lot. But I'm grateful for it, and I'm happy. I'll be excited to discuss it with the women that are part of the book club and see what their thoughts are. I feel close to Cather just because I'm a Nebraska girl, and so much of what she talks about I can relate to, even though it takes place, you know, years later or years before I was around. So this has been fun to read, even though it's been a slow read for me. And then I'm kind of in a weird spot in between books. I've finished a lot of stuff and haven't figured out what yet to start. I just was invited to another book club, which I think I'm going to go to. And it's a mystery book club, which is fun. And so they're reading Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney for February. And so I need to pick a copy of that up. I tried to get it at the library, but the wait was like, I don't know, 18 weeks, because it just came out. So of course it's popular. And then I was just watching Katie the Novel Stitcher on her latest YouTube video, and she was talking about a book that she was reading called Real Americans by Rachel Kong. And when I looked it up and I saw the synopsis, I thought that looks really interesting. So I was able to check it out from the library right away. So I plan to start that today or maybe this weekend, and we'll see how that goes. So that's my plans. We'll go from there. The book that we're reading for book club in March, I've already read, so I've got some wiggle room, and maybe that's when I'll look at my bookshelves and figure out what I want to read in hard copy in front of my eyes. I've been doing a lot of audiobook reading just because I've been stitching so much. And that's working really well. But like I said before, I want to get my physical books, the count down. And so trying to read through those before I pass them on to little free libraries or to others. So that's it. That's what I got. My timer says, you know, we're just shy of 50 minutes. So hopefully that wasn't too bad. Thank you for joining me here. Like I said, I'll be back in February, the end of the month, and I hope that you're doing well. Thinking of all of you that are impacted by the crazy weather we've been having, whether that's the fires in California or all of the snow and cold in the south. I just hope that you're staying safe and warm, and I'm grateful for you and glad that you're here. So take care.